So 3 things happened this week, Michael. 3 things.
Problem is, it's just Monday.
What?
It's literally Monday, Luke. Today is Monday. So how can it be 3 things this week?
Yeah, 3 things in the last week that happened.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. So that involved the last 3 things that we reflected on. Jurassic Park, The Incredibles, and Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, so Star Wars, we had the discussion about the state of Star Wars. They have cancelled, well, they haven't cancelled, but they've suspended production of all of their spin-offs.
You know what, Luke? I didn't know that. It's a good thing you're here to give me this information.
Yeah, so there you go. The Incredibles, there's been a lot of talk about Elastigirl's book.
Yes, obviously.
There's a couple of articles. Here we go. Hey perverts, stop staring at Elastigirl's book in the New York Post. And probably my favourite title I've seen in the USA Today, Incredibles 2-star Elastigirl is thick. Why that's a good thing.
Okay, so important things there, Luke. Number 1, I don't think you can call Elastigirl a star of The Incredibles 2. She's a character in The Incredibles 2.
I know.
But secondly...
why that's a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to guess that the why that's a good thing is probably going to be some kind of, nonsense empowerment, it's actually very empowering to be a tit ninja kind of argument.
Yeah, but, it's empowerment to be thick because it means you don't have to stay in incredible shape.
It's a really stupid thing because I feel like a lot of people... this is something... Are you familiar with the health at every size movement, Luke?
No.
Well, basically it's just fat activism, or fativism. Kind of any kind of movement for fat people to be empowered and all that stuff. And I don't have a problem with fat people, I
went to school with someone who really did, who hated fat people.
Yeah, it's obviously that, you shouldn't hate fat people, and I'm not advocating for that. But the problem with a lot of the fat empowerment movement is that it's actually very anti-feminist because it says things like, real men love curves, only dogs go for bones, and things like that. A lot of the fat activism movement is basically not actually challenging kind of the idea that men should determine women's value, but basically just arguing that men should start appraising, fat women more positively. So basically, and also just, so you know what, Luke, you give me a lot to talk about there because the first article, it used to be that people would complain about, the developers making women look a certain way. But clearly that article was saying hey, stop staring at this character's butt. But you got to be honest, Luke, I'm pretty sure the character designers know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, no doubt they know what they're doing.
I refuse to be. I'm a victim of circumstance.
Yes.
And what's the third thing, Luke?
Yeah, the third thing is Jurassic World. So I watched a Family Guy episode this week or last week, and it had the joke in the episode, which I don't know if you've seen it, but it's the even bigger Jaws joke. It's when Jaws and a group of sailors have to team up to defeat even bigger Jaws. And I thought, you know what, that reminds me a lot of the end of Jurassic World.
Yes, that's definitely true, and that is.
To be
honest, I don't think. The thing is, your other 2 examples of things that happened over the last week were pieces of news that broke this week.
Yeah.
And the final piece is just I saw a Family Guy episode. Anyway, that's great.
Even
Probably quite a long one, but who cares? Who cares, Luke? Like I say, we're the only ones watching this.
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get. With the hoods for tees, with the boots with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy trees. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox. Grip the Glock when I walk down the crowded block. Just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out, blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second inspection and watch, probably. And today, I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined by my co-host, Luke, and let's get right into the movie review. Today we're looking at Sicario. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Sicario?
Can I just say, Michael, you said that opening bit with such enthusiasm. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Sicario. It's a 2015 American crime thriller film directed by Denis Villeneuve, written by Taylor Sheridan. Stars Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, Daniel Kaluuya, John Barenfell, Jeffrey Donovan, and Victor Garber. Was released on September the 18th, 2015 in the United States. Do you want to have a guess at the budget?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a modest 60 million.
60?
No, I'm going to go for a modest 40 million.
It's 30 million.
You know what, Luke? I mean, to be honest, we've been doing too many blockbusters recently, and I think it's ruined my brain.
Yeah, we're back to a nice, normal movie now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're back to movies that cost less than 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
That's the benchmark.
That's the threshold. So, now, the box office. How much did it make?
It made... See, I feel like it must have been relatively successful. So I'm going to go for a good old-fashioned... let's go for 220 million.
Wow, Michael. Wow. 85 million.
Wow. I mean, you know what? I mean, so I'm basing this off the fact, I guess I should point out that the reason we're reviewing this film is because of Sicario 2.
Yes.
Which, like, my immediate thought when I heard of Sicario 2 is, Sicario, I mean, having seen this film, like, I saw this film a while ago just because it was about, and I was about at the same time, and we happened to cross paths. And I would not have thought this film is the type of film one establishes a cinematic universe around, but I'm looking forward to the Sicario cinematic universe. I assumed if they were making a sequel, it would have made... I mean, that's not much of a profit.
No. When I looked at the box office return, I was surprised as well. It's kind of like, well, if it only made 85 million, then why is there no... why is there a sequel? Like, it must have barely made any profit.
I feel like it might have received kind of a lot of... It might be one of those films that didn't do that well at the box office, but then a lot of people kind of picked up on it being a good film after the fact.
Yeah, it got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah.
Yes. Also, Luke... I want to say this now because I think it's interesting. This film was directed by Mr. I can't pronounce his name, Mr. Villeneuve, who should play a villain. He also directed Arrival, I guess you might have seen in your sleuthing.
Yeah, he did. Oh, I remember.
I remember.
The Arrival thing.
Yes, I was thinking that, and I was looking forward to it. It's kind of good to look at, maybe, yeah. I mean, we'll possibly talk about how interesting it is when directors are directors who direct things and you can kind of see comparisons in their work. It's useful, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it is useful.
But anyway, what's really important, Luke, is did you like this film?
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Did you?
Yeah, I did too. And to be honest, I almost forgot I would have to give an opinion on it, Luke, because it's just such an exciting film, isn't it? Anyway, Speaking of excitement, nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
How many did you get?
I got 3.
Okay, so I actually did like a weird thing where so technically speaking, that the official answer is that I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but one of them is a complete joke.
Okay.
But I'll let you do yours first.
Okay. I'm looking forward to see what you've got then if you've got 6. Should be interesting. So, my first nitpick is, I think it's the biggest one in the movie. It's another coincidence, by the way, and I know how you like to say, I always point them out. It's a big coincidence that the guy she's going to have sex with is a dirty cop and works for the exact cartel that she's, going after. And not only that, but he's friends with her friend Parking Pataweo.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on 50% of that. I think that, I don't want to imply that you're an unobservant idiot. No, it's not a matter of unobservant. I assumed that the guy was specifically sent to kind of infiltrate because, they knew who she was.
Is that what you assumed?
Oh, yeah, but I will say you're right about 50% of the coincidence.
I'm right about all of it, Michael.
The coincidence is that he knew Parking Pataweo.
Yeah, he realizes that she knows who he is when he looks at his wristband on the table. Yeah, and then he's like, oh shit, she knows who I am.
The thing is, I think that here's my question, Luke. He must have known she was a cop, or else he wouldn't have realized the significance of her knowing who he was. Like, imagine that I'm in a gang, Luke. So he knew she was a cop.
But she stopped having sex with him once she saw the wristband. And so he must have looked at the wristband and been like, oh shit, she saw the wristband and then stopped having sex with me. Shit, she must know who I am.
I don't know, Luke. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think this is a good
no. Why would you? He was about to go down on it. Like, why would you do that? Why, if you want to kill her, wouldn't you just take her back to the apartment and strangle her? It makes no sense that he would know that he was meant to kill him.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna assume that, maybe he just wanted to have sex. Like, yeah, I thought about that, Luke. I mean, sometimes men have needs, and if you're a hitman, and, like, at the end of the day, a pool's still a pool. I mean, you've still hooked up with this pretty good girl, and yeah, you gotta kill her, and it's tough. Yeah, but you're like, well, I might as well have sex with her. And then you forget that you've got a wristband that reveals that you're a member of a cartel, and you just put it to one side. But you just, really, all you want to do is you want to bust your nut, and then you want to kill her.
Okay, so why didn't he say, let's go back to my place then? Because then he could have killed her more easily.
Maybe, ready for this, Luke? Maybe he wanted to search her apartment to see if she had any important stuff, because she's a policeman, and maybe she's got all this important kind of files lying around.
Perhaps. But then surely the risk is so high that she's killed, like, in her own apartment. And you went back with her. Because at least, like, if you went back with her to your apartment, it wouldn't be as easy to find out who killed her.
No, but Luke, it's fine, because it's not as if she has a close friend who also is a close friend of him, who would immediately be able to make the connection and point to him as the person
not
responsible
make the
for
connection,
murder.
because he could say,
don't worry about it, Luke.
He could say, oh yeah, we hooked up, and then she left, and I haven't seen her since.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to say, Luke, have you ever considered that maybe you just make a better hitman than this guy?
You see, when he's strangling her, he says, you made me do this. Like, he doesn't want to kill her. That's the line he says, you made me do this, it's your fault. Like, he does not want to kill her, but since she's seen his wristband now, and he
maybe it was
realizes that she knows
espionage,
who he is.
Luke. Maybe he wasn't planning on killing her yet. Maybe he wanted to just get
accept
in
you're
there.
wrong.
Hey, I'm not accepting I'm wrong.
You're definitely wrong. He had no idea that she knew about the wristband. That he was not sent to kill her. He wouldn't have done it in that way if he would have, and he wouldn't have said what he said. And in the back of the police truck after, when he's been handcuffed, he's so, like, resentful. He's so scared. That's not the type of guy that the cartel sends.
Well, that's why my theory is that he was sent for espionage. He was sent to kind of what's it called? What's it called when you kind of, like, you do something out?
Spy.
Yeah, let's just say spy. I didn't actually mean that word. It was a different word, but spy is fine. Spy is equally as good. He was sent just to check her out, be like, oh, what's happening here? And then suddenly he was like, oh, dog, I left my wristband on the coffee table. And then he's like, oh no, now she's going to kill me. I was just sent here to spy. And then now he's got to kill her. He's like, you made me kill you because I just wanted to spy on you. I wasn't, I just wanted to have sex with you and spy on you. But now I'm going to have to kill you. Which is fine because I'm into that. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, he wasn't sent to kill her then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he wasn't sent to kill her.
Okay, so I'm right.
Anyway, well, I mean, I guess you're right, Luke.
I guess I'm right. So, my second nitpick.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Josh Brolin doesn't tell Kate when she's going back into the bank that she could be identified by the cartel.
Yeah, that's actually... Oh, but no. There is a reason why he didn't do this. Because...
Yes, I know there is a reason why.
Okay.
However, he did not want her to go in because he said, don't go in the bank, Kate. And he didn't tell her why. So if he was so concerned about it, surely he would tell her the reason why.
You know what it is, Luke? Again, I'm going to have to explain the motivations of these people to you. At first, he was like, oh, don't go in. But then he realized she was going to go in. And then he was like, oh, maybe I should tell her that she'll be photographed by the cartel. And then he was like, wait a minute. That gives me an idea. I can use her as bait.
Oh, you thought he thought of that in like 1 second?
Yeah, 1 second, Luke. I mean, he's a smart guy. You don't know how smart Josh Brolin is.
Oh, wait, no. I can use her as bait.
Remember how smart he was in No Country for Old Men when he got himself killed?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. We shouldn't have said that until we reviewed it.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one to review. Because I don't know if you noticed, Luke, but I've actually possibly seen it more than twice already.
Wow.
That might shock you to hear. Anyway, what is your third and final nitpick, Luke?
She loves cigarettes too much.
Oh yeah,
I get that she's very stressed about the whole situation, but like, okay, give it a rest with the cigarettes.
Yeah, okay, you know what, Luke, actually, so I'm just gonna bounce off that with one of my nitpicks, which is that she takes 2 drags on a cigarette and throws it away. And the worst thing is she stole this. I mean, not stole, but she asked someone else for the cigarette. She was like, "Oh, can I have a cigarette off you?" First of all, she is literally. I feel like every single time she smokes a cigarette, she has like bummed it off someone else. Like, every single time she gets a cigarette, she's like,
Not
"Oh,
on the end, on the balcony."
Oh, okay, yeah, right. Maybe. Well, we don't even know. We didn't see how she got that cigarette. But yeah, like imagine it's kind of like imagine if you were eating like you got a Kit Kat. And, it had like four bars of Kit Kat. And I was like, oh, can I have one of those bars of Kit Kats? And you're like, yeah, sure. And you gave it to me. I took a bite and I threw it on the floor. It looked like I was being asked. She like just was like, oh, can I have one of your cigarettes? Cigarettes aren't cheap, Luke. I mean, they're probably cheap.
The guy did tell us to put it out before they got to the illegal immigrants, though.
Yeah, I know, but I felt like he was expecting her to just take her time. Yeah, I know, anyway. I mean, like I say, it's not a completely serious one, but I was thinking that, like, yeah, I get it. It's like, but at the same time, you just think, like, I don't know. I mean, you got to be able to just wait. I mean, she's not, especially since she's supposed to be kind of like, I guess, getting kind of an addiction or well, clearly the whole point, like you say, she likes cigarettes so much. Mm-hmm. She likes cigarettes so much. Well, she's a faker. Anyway, so these are all of mine. Okay, so my first one that I saw is my joke one, which is when they're at the border patrol, Daniel Kaluuya shows up and the person in the booth asks him for ID, and I was thinking, why didn't Emily Blunt's character accuse him of being racist? I think that would have been a lot of... He should have gone, hold on, why do you need to see his ID? And the guy's like, I'm just doing my job, man. Yeah, but you didn't have to see my ID.
That's great.
Anyway,
that's great. I love it.
Now, these are my ones. I think none of mine are very... some of mine are more serious than others. Okay, so I'll start with the stupidest ones first. Number 1. Is she getting a plane from Phoenix to El Paso? I mean, is that not a bit ridiculous? Like,
no, it's not.
They're pretty, I mean, basically all you got to do, Luke, is drive through New Mexico. Are you do you hate the environment so much that you have to take a private jet instead of just driving through New Mexico? It's one state, Luke. I mean, how big can one state be?
I can't believe you actually put this down. Like, I know it's stupid, but I can't believe you actually took
I do think, okay, so I'll put it this way, okay. They're very close. They're not massively close. But, I mean, like, obviously, for example, I understand that America's a big place, and you got to take a plane from LA to New York. You've even got to take a plane from New York to Chicago and places like that. But really, Luke, I mean, El Paso is right in the west of Texas. Right way out in the west of Texas. And Phoenix is in Arizona. And, just drive. They've got these freeways, I mean, they've spent billions of pounds on their freeways with 6 lanes apiece. And I just think, it's still not good enough for them, Luke. They've got to have their private jets.
What's your next one, Michael?
And then they'll bitch about gas prices, won't they? Okay, so let's go for... actually, okay, I've got one. This is another one that is bouncing off something you said, which I didn't bring up. So you were complaining about the fact that, the cartel guy with the wristband, he goes home, tries to have sex with her. I've got 2 things I wanted to say about that, neither of which are about what you pointed out. Number 1, just generally, she did not handle realizing the guy was a cartel member very well. And I just think, this is going to be something that I'm going to bring up in more detail, but, I get it, but at the same time, she is a policewoman, and you would kind of think that even, I like to think that even I would do a more convincing job of, not giving away immediately, what I kind of know. That I know that this guy's bad news. She makes it so obvious that she knows that he is a member of a cartel. And like you say, I mean, the guy himself, he looks over and he sees the thing and he's like, oh wait, she knows I'm a member of a cartel. And it's just I don't know, yeah. I mean, obviously, people are flawed, and maybe that's just a flaw of hers. But I was just thinking, she's a policeman, police officer. There you go. My second one off of that is that the people who are staking out her place, Alejandro and Matt, wait unnecessarily long to step in. And it seems like one of those things where, okay, yeah, from a film point of view it makes sense, because oh no, you think she's going to die, she's just about to die, and then this guy steps in. But from a you're an actual police officer point of view, you'd be like, hey, the guys, let's step in right away. Let's not leave any kind of dramatic tension. So yeah, no reason for them
That's what
to.
they said to each other. Let's not leave any dramatic tension.
Yes. And then, this is my last one. This is actually, to be honest with you, this is 2 nitpicks for the price of 1. So if you're being absolutely technical, I have 7 nitpicks.
Okay.
But they're both in the same place, okay? It's to do with the scene when they're in the border patrol and it's a traffic jam, okay? So first of all, I find it very weird that they go to all this effort to plan. Like, you know, they have clearly a lot of effort to make sure that they go in, it's a clean pickup. They've got all these federales, I assume that's what the Mexicans call that, please.
Yes.
Federales, escorts, all this stuff. And then they just get stuck in a traffic jam. I think, would it not be like relatively easy for them to have kind of a, especially since I assume that in the border patrol between Juarez, which is the place that backs onto El Paso, and El Paso, in that border patrol, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, like, you know, people being moved back and forth by the DEA and groups like that. So shouldn't they just have like a separate highway or some kind of system so that they don't get stuck in traffic? Because if they just, you know, said, okay, here's the road where all the normal people go through.
I
We're
know
going to
what you're
have
saying.
a road
I'm just...
through the border. It's going to be fine, and there's not going to be any traffic there, and no one's going to get shot. My second thing as part of that, they go through a checkpoint. Like, they go past this checkpoint, and then, having gone past this checkpoint, they're surrounded by people with guns. And I'm thinking, oh, what was the point? Because they literally do drive through a checkpoint. There are Mexican policemen there, stood at the checkpoint, like, come through, you know, go through a checkpoint. And then they're past the checkpoint, and now they're surrounded by people with guns. And I'm like, hold on, you know, how did those people get through?
Well, a simple explanation. Those police officers were dirty cops.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know, I mean, it's like a classic, you can explain anything by just going, oh, the cops were dirty. But, I mean, realistically, how...
It's a classic.
Yeah, how is every single, like, do they just kind of show up? Like, what hope do you have if cartels can literally just like, here's some money, can we take our guns into America now? I mean, how is Trump's wall even going to solve all the problems if that's the case?
Good point.
You know,
We need an even bigger wall. We need 2 walls.
Yeah, we need 2 walls, and we need a big highway going through one of them so we can traffic drug cartel members back and forth without getting stuck in traffic jams. Anyway, that's everything. So now we move on to the plot, and I guess you do that thing where you describe the plot.
Yeah, I'll do that thing. So, Sicario. But basically what it's about is this guy, Guillermo del Toro, his character is Alejandro Gillick, getting revenge on the people who killed his family. But also, at the same time, some US Marshals, the DEA agents, and some US Army people also having the motivation to help him, because the guy he's going to kill is also one of the major cartels in Mexico. And the hope is when that guy does die, there'll be less war between the 2 cartels, because one of the cartels will basically be finished with. And so then it will make their jobs easier, I guess.
Yes.
Because as Josh Brolin says, there's no, they can't start the drug war unless 20% of the American population decide to stop taking cocaine. So they're like, right, you know what, we're going to help this guy kill one of the cartels because, our motivations align. He wants it for revenge. We want it because it'll make our job easier. And all the while they have this character alongside them called Kate, played by Emily Blunt, who just kind of goes about just finding stuff out about this plan.
Yes, that is an accurate summation of the plot, Luke.
Yes, that's what I do.
So basically, here's my things. Number 1, as you pointed out, the CIA, I guess, and other people, whatever, are helping Alejandro rise to power.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Luke, you said Guillermo del Toro, which is a director. You meant to say Benicio del Toro. Yeah, that's fine.
Del Toro.
Yeah, just like that. Alejandro, he seems like a weird choice to me because so they want to establish someone as a authority to bring order to the drug cartels, basically. So, but they've picked someone who, let's be honest, has a really decent chance of being kind of like insane and unhinged. Like, they've chosen someone whose motivations are intensely emotional and personal and rage-driven. And I would
Yeah.
think if your intention is to bring order, you would say, okay, we're going to pick this guy because he's a shrewd businessman, he's an ally of ours, and we're going to help him take over the cartels. You wouldn't be like, hey, this guy is completely unstable, his daughter was dropped into a vat of acid, and his motivation is to find this guy, kill his children and wife, and then murder him, and he's the one we want to bring order to the cartels.
But he's not unstable, though. That's the thing. That's the key.
He could be. Maybe he's just sneaky.
Yeah, the thing is, Josh Brolin says a line like he works for anybody who pays him or something like that.
Yeah, he does say that.
And that implies that he's done stuff before for various agencies, whether they be government agencies or non-government agencies. Basically, he's reliable. Like, he gets the job done. So perhaps they can trust Bob the Builder.
No, I was going to say like Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, exactly.
You pick the right tool for the job.
Yes, he knows what he's doing, and so he's reliable. They can trust him, and he's also very skilled, as evidenced throughout the movie. And he's driven. And if, I don't know, maybe they could have got someone else, but if he dies, it's fine because he's not a government agent or whatever, or associated with the government. So I think yes, you could say it's perhaps not the most realistic thing that the US government would hire this guy, but overall, I think it does make sense and it does have logic to it.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question on the subject of No Country for Old Men. Would you say this film is a neo-Western?
This film?
Because, okay, so the reason why I would say it's possibly a neo-Western is because No Country for Old Men is unambiguously a neo-Western.
Yes.
And that is about drug cartels and things like that. I was wondering, would you say this is a neo-Western? And if so, if you wouldn't, then what would you say is different, makes this film not a neo-Western?
Well, I would not say it's a neo-Western, Michael. And the reason I would not say it is because it's listed as a crime thriller. No, the reason why I say it isn't is because it involves task forces and the FBI.
Oh, so you'd say
and, the US Army and the US Marshals and DEA agents and the government and all that. It's set in that area, but it's these are government agents.
Yeah. So if it was the local sheriff who was who wanted to take down this drug bust, then it would be a neo-Western.
I guess so.
Local
yes.
sheriff is like, we need to deal with these cartels because Lord knows they ain't gonna deal with themselves.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that would be the reason. If Josh Brolin's character in No Country for Old Men, well, it doesn't really make sense that he'd be a DEA agent or something like that. But if they had that element somehow, then you couldn't say it'd be a neo-Western.
It is funny that both films have Josh Brolin in.
Yeah, it is. It's like he's going to get typecast. Well,
I think he already is. I think he already has been typecast because I've seen him in several films. And...
Well, he's Thanos, so maybe not.
Oh, okay. Well, really isn't Thanos just the CIA agent of the galaxy?
Yeah, and all the planets are black urban areas.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have anything specific to say about the plot? I don't want to railroad this. Actually, in a steamroll, not railroad.
Yeah. I did actually. One thing I mentioned when describing the story was that the main character, Kate, isn't really involved in the actual plot. She's just along for the ride, which I thought is something that we could talk about.
Yes, I mean, I want to... So this is a bit of a spoiler alert for when we look at the characters. I want to complain about the character of Kate. But if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, you're basically saying that she is our protagonist, but she is kind of... Sorry, I'm being a bit squeaky. She is our protagonist, but she is so kind of in the dark and hapless and sort of not really... for the whole plot, is kind of like the plot almost is happening without her.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the character of Bilbo in The Battle of Five Armies.
Yes, she's irrelevant to what's happening, apart from the fact that they need her because it gives them...
authority.
Yeah, authority to do what they want to do. Yes, legitimacy, yes. So that's the only reason why she's in fact there. Apart from that, she's irrelevant. So basically what she is a manifestation of one of the audience in the movie, finding stuff out, obviously, as the audience finds it out, as she gets told. But I think this movie needs the character of Kate. I actually support her being in this movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
So obviously this movie would have worked without her. I'm not saying it wouldn't have. But think about it, if Kate wasn't in this movie, it'd just be another standard action movie. with Alejandro as the main protagonist. There's flashbacks of him killing his family, of the drug lord killing his family, and he's done this mission for revenge, and that's how it's marketed. And it's just you've seen plenty of those kind of films before, but the addition of Kate makes the movie more murky. It makes it more realistic and more intense. More just it feels realer. And I do appreciate that. I just wonder also whether the script was written first without Kate in it. The movie is, of course, called Sicario, which, as the movie says, translates to hitman in Spanish. So it could have been about, hey, I've got this movie about this guy who kills all these, all these people who work for this drug lord, and this drug lord to try and get back at him for killing his family. And the executive or whatever could have been like, you know what, we've seen this before, or the director or the writer, I don't know.
Yeah.
He could have thought, you know what, we've seen this before. Maybe if I add in another character who's along for the ride, makes it more mysterious, makes it more interesting to watch. I just think that this movie doesn't have the same weight if she's not actually in it.
Yeah, I do essentially agree with you. I mean, like I said, I am going to complain a bit about the character of Kate. I don't object to the fact she was in this film. So one thing, by the way, is... well,
let's do it now. Let's just talk about her.
I wanted to say one brief thing, because I think it's kind of relevant, not quite about Kate. So obviously this guy directed Arrival, and I feel like there's a quite a parallel in terms of the idea of a scientist who also has got divorced, and I think their children have died, which I think is what we're supposed to assume, because Kate in this film mentions that she doesn't have a husband anymore. And that she said she used to have children, but she doesn't have children anymore. I think she at least said she doesn't have a husband anymore.
She's divorced, yeah.
Yes. And obviously, in Arrival, there's a woman who's divorced, and also she gradually finds out that the government is doing some kind of sneaky shenanigans behind her back. And so
I won't say the government are doing sneaky shenanigans behind her back in Arrival. I think it's kind of they're not letting her see the full picture, but I don't think they're doing anything sneaky.
Well, yeah, I guess I'd say both films kind of have an element of you've got a kind of simple female protagonist who's got, I guess, something of an implied tragic past, and she gets involved in this huge operation that's larger than her, and then finds out that there's a huge amount that she's in the dark about, and a lot of the film is her. A lot of the tension of the film arrives from her kind of slowly realizing that, what's going on. Anyway, I mean, it's maybe a silly story. So I'll just talk about Kate. I thought, the first time I saw this film, but I think even more so, second time I watched it, I thought she was really just kind of pathetic to the point of being annoying. Because there's so many things, so many times in the film, it's whenever anything goes wrong, her response is either to become immediately violent and become totally overpowered. So she comes out, she's like, oh, I'm angry because you're a drug dealer. And then she gets overpowered and almost choked. She punches Josh Brolin because he's like, you betrayed, blah, 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 blah. And he's just just wrestles her to the ground relatively easily. Basically the entire film is just this woman who is ultimately impotent, getting, just being angry at people and not actually being able to affect anyone. And,
well, I just want to say, isn't that the point of the movie, though? Isn't that what it's going for? Because there's the line at the end when Benicio del Toro says, this is the land for wolves, or something.
Yeah, you know what? That's really convenient, because I was just about to mention that line.
Yeah.
So that line is very similar to literally the title of No Country for Old Men. And I know I've made that talk about this, but okay, so... Yeah. The reason why I kind of made the neo-Western comparison is because No Country for Old Men, the point is basically that you have an old-time sheriff played by Tommy Lee Jones who realizes that, the world is becoming more violent and there's more actors becoming involved, and it's no longer the idea of, it's no longer just the local county sheriff who can do blah, 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 or whatever else. That's kind of the point of No Country for Old Men. And there is literally a line where he kind of says, I can't understand this world. This world is too confusing. This world is too dark. I just want to let this, evil world pass me by, basically. This is his little kind of gritty monologue. And like you say, that is really, or not necessarily like you say, but the line that you point out where he says, this is the land of the wolves. This land is not a land where you can kind of handle yourself. He literally tells her to, move away to a small town, move away from this because she's not ready for this fight. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I like that, obviously. I mean, spoiler alert, I like No Country for Old Men. I like that message. I think I'd have... The problem is she's too... there's no moment where she kind of seems in control. There's no moment where it's like... So it's kind of like there's nothing...
if
there's
that was
no
the case,
contrast.
Michael, though, if there was a moment where she was in control, then surely it would dilute the point or the message that the movie's trying to make. Like innocence and justice or whatever can't survive out in this place.
Okay. I do obviously see what you're saying. I think you could make an argument that at the same time it could reinforce it, because you could have kind of the idea of she does make a proactive effort to kind of be more dominant and authoritative, but ultimately that fails. I guess something I should say just preemptively is that I feel like this is a quite subjective thing. So I don't necessarily there is a sense in which it is kind of just my personal aversion to the character, and I wouldn't necessarily say it makes the film objectively wrong. But anyway,
well, you know what I like, Michael? I like movies that have a message or a point. So if this is the point of this movie, it's like, hey, the whole reason why she's there, because this movie could work without her, the whole reason why she's there is to show how just horrible like this Mexican drug war is, and how you can't follow the rules, you can't do things the correct way if you're gonna make some headway, and if that's the point of the movie, then I'm fine with her being powerless, because that's the point of it.
I guess. Okay, so I'm going to have to broach this because it's something, this is, I think, relevant. To me, part of the thing that makes it worse for me is the fact she's a woman. And the reason is because her character essentially represents an impotent moralism. In other words, the idea of a very virtuous and pure moral force that is fundamentally incapable of challenging a superior strength. And the problem, and also, for example, she's incredibly over-emotional. And all three of those things are kind of stereotypes of the feminine. And I guess and again, I realize this is a bit of a kind of nebulous kind of thing to say, in that it's a bit like, a bit critical theorist, but it does kind of make it almost like there's more going on. So I have to say this, I would prefer this film, I think, if her character was a man. And the reason why I say that is because if you had a man who was overly moral, completely impotent, just, saying like, well, you're a bad guy and I don't like you, and he, tries to punch people, he can't punch anyone, he gets wrestled to the ground, things like that, like basically incapable of, like you say, this is the world of the war on drugs is a brutal world.
It's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a man doing that, then I'd be like, okay, this, that makes sense. It's just showing how brutal it is. Obviously I'm not accusing, I've forgotten his first name. Villeneuve, whatever it is. Dennis Villeneuve, of being sexist. I don't think he is actually sexist. Yeah. But I would say kind of for whatever reason, the inclusion or the fact she was a woman and the fact of what she's chosen to represent makes it a bit like it's hard to not see it as her being a particular kind of character and kind of an irritating stereotype of a character in a way she wouldn't be if she was a man.
I just think you're white knighting, Michael.
Yes, I kind of, yeah.
I'll be serious now. I think it would be interesting actually to find out when it was conceived that this Kate character would be a woman.
Do you know who wrote this, and if it was if Dennis?
It wasn't Dennis Villeneuve who wrote it. I'm getting it up now. It was written by Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, I wonder that. You know what the worst thing about the name Taylor is? It could be a woman's name, but anyway, that would be interesting if it was.
Well, I can see if he is a woman.
See if he is a woman.
See if he's a woman.
Maybe she identifies as genderqueer, and he prefers it if we change the gender with which we prefer to her.
He is a he. He's a he. He also wrote Hell or High Water.
Oh, really? That's funny, because we were going to review Hell or High Water, and I was going to talk about how Hell or High Water is a complete rip-off of No Country for Old Men.
Oh. Well, There you go. So this guy's a bit of a hack, then, is what we're saying.
Yeah, he is a bit of a hack.
Two movies very similar to No Country for Old Men.
I guess his theme is he likes the idea of somebody not being able to deal with how violent the cops and robbers world is. But yeah, it's... you're right. It would be interesting to see when she was introduced, because I definitely agree with you that you could see how... I do think, to be honest, it could have gone both ways. Like, it's entirely possible somebody did think to themselves, let's make a film, especially if this guy, seeing as this guy apparently writes a lot of films like this, maybe he did indeed think to himself, do you know what theme I like? I like the theme of a innocent main character who is confronted with the, abrupt brutality of a world that's foreign to them. Maybe that's what he thought, and maybe he just came up with, let's do the drug war. So I think it could have gone either way.
It would be interesting to figure out. I do get what you're saying. Like, she does display like characteristics that are typically feminine, and in a negative way. The fact that she can't handle the real world and all that's kind of those connotations. But I think, like I said, if that's the point of the movie, then I'm fine with it. And the gender, is something that I don't really care about. And if it was a man, it would perhaps make me, it'd make you feel better about watching the movie. But I don't see gender. No.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure it would actually affects how I see this movie.
Okay. Yeah. Side note. So this is that thing where I talk about hypothetical films I've always thought about. So one of the things that I would like to make a film about, this is something that it kind of plays into the how cynical this film is, which I think we're going to talk about like later at the end when we talk about the drug war. But one of the things that this film, of course, kind of brings up is the idea of the organizations that we think of as being right, which generally refers to kind of our governments in the West, I think. Actually, I'm just going to have to bring this up because I want to say this anyway, and it kind of leads into what I want to say. It's interesting, this film, and a lot of other films I've seen in the United States that deal with law enforcement, take for granted the fact that the CIA and the FBI are actively antagonistic towards each other. So I guess that's just like an established thing. Like, the CIA and the FBI hate each other. Because it's like, I've seen lots of films, well, not lots of films, but it's quite a few crime films where it's been like, those, assholes at the agency, are trying to shut us down, blah, blah, blah. So apparently, the idea of intergovernment conflict is quite a common thing. But I like the idea of any film that actually shows that, wait a minute, Western governments have done terrible things. And one of the examples I like to talk about is one of the first missions undertaken by the MI6, I think. Okay, you may not know this, but I think MI6 is the one that deals with international intelligence, and MI5 deals with internal intelligence. If you're not going to correct me, then I'm just going to assume I'm right.
MI5, MI6, MI7, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think MI6 deals largely with international...
Which one does James Bond work for?
I think he works for MI... Oh, no, I thought he worked for MI5, but now I'm doubting myself. Okay, well, I don't want to... You're the one who stealthily Googles things, Luke, but maybe we should just say that it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We'll just say MI6, MI6. I'm just going for MI6. So, one of the first things that MI6 did, because they were established in, I think, 1919. So just after World War One. Yeah. And one of the first things they did is that there was a guy who took charge of Afghanistan, called, I think, Amanullah Khan. And he was a very kind of secular Republican politician. And by Republican, I mean, wanting to establish a republic.
Yes.
And he wanted to kind of unite the Afghan people under a vision of progressive, liberal Western values. And
much like the Republicans of the United States.
Yes. And, for example, he passed an amendment to give women the vote in Afghanistan in the 1920s. However, he was getting pally with the Soviets, and he seemed to want to encourage Pakistan and India to achieve their independence against the British, which of course makes sense. He was a anti-imperialist progressive Republican ruling an independent Afghanistan. He wanted to see the surrounding areas of South Asia that were ruled by Britain do the same thing as he was doing in Afghanistan. And the British government didn't like that. So what they did is they sent in spies. They sent in spies via MI6 to fund radical Islamic preachers and military groups so that they could create discord in the country and cause his regime to collapse. And I mean, obviously, I don't think you need to be told this, but a lot of people need to learn, get the idea hammered into their head that the 20th century rise in radical Islamic extremism was pretty much entirely kind of the work of Western military intelligence operations.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, and I think obviously the reason why I bring it up is because I think it would be an interesting film, because it would deal with, you could have, for example, a soldier for the British Empire who grew up kind of, Britain's bringing peace and security to the world. The world never sets, and the British Empire has this very idealistic view. And then you have this MI6 agent who basically slowly, over the course of a film, reveals that what they're actually doing is completely destabilizing a generally, happy, progressive, peaceful region because it helps British imperial interests. And obviously,
that would
for example,
be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting film. And obviously that would be, a similar kind of theme to this. I don't really know what point I was making now, Luke.
Well, you were saying...
I guess what I was really saying is, that I think in that context, you could have So in that context, basically, it's just going back to my idea of the film should have been about a man, because then it would have made more sense if you just had like a plucky young soldier. Maybe they fought in World War One. Maybe the guy could have a speech about how, they'll avoid horrible battles like in World War One, because nowadays, wars won't be fought on the battlefield anymore. They'll be fought behind the curtain. And wouldn't that be crazy? Anyway, the important thing
I just want to say the comparison between your movie idea and the comparison between Sicario is slightly off, because although the government agencies are doing something shady, they are still their intentions aren't necessarily nefarious. They want to help the situation of the US.
Well, actually, Luke, that's what we need to talk about that at the end. Also, I would point out that also it's the exact opposite, because in one situation, Britain intentionally destabilized Afghanistan, whereas the United States, in the context of the Sicario film, is bringing order to Mexico But anyway, so I think pretty much. Do you have anything else to say about the plot? I actually do have one more thing.
I had one more thing as well, and I wanted to talk about a specific scene in the movie.
Yeah, you can talk about... Well, actually, maybe I will talk about my thing first, because my thing is quite general, and also, I hope, quite short. I just want to say, maybe I'm an idiot, but the first time I watched this film, I was quite happy to watch this film a second time, because I found this film quite confusing. And I feel like this is going to make me sound dumb, but the first time I was watching it, it kind of... it was one of those things where it was like, I was like, okay, so who's that guy's working for? And they're looking for this guy called, Diaz, and, okay, so that guy who was playing football, wanted to play football with his kid, he's a corrupt guy, and he's gone there to pick up that thing. And like a lot of the stuff, when the first time I was watching it, I was kind of working out, and, some of the things that were happening earlier on, because I didn't know where it was all leading, I wasn't picking up on. And this is kind of, again, it's not, so I guess I have two things to say. Number one, and I think you'll agree with this, it isn't a bad thing when a film is confusing and leaves you with stuff to kind of pick up the second time you watch it, or to pick up on and notice the second time you watch it.
I just want to say there's a difference between confusing and complicated.
Okay,
I'd say this movie is complicated, but it's not confusing.
I can understand the difference.
And people do stuff that makes sense,
Yes. And the second thing I was going to say is that, and I think I already clarified this, but I would like to bring up again. I do think part of the reason this film felt more, I'm going to use the word confusing this time, actually, because I agree with you that this film is more complicated than confusing, but I think this film was made slightly confusing by the fact that the characters themselves, our main protagonists, were in the dark for a lot of it, which kind of made it a bit more like, obviously, the film could have been more easy to follow if you would have had, obviously, but like you say, and again, this it's not criticism, because of course that would completely change the film. But I guess what I'm really saying is just that this film, by its nature, by kind of like the complicated nature of the plot, and also the confusing aspect of not, being put in the position of a protagonist who doesn't know what's going on, does make it something where there's almost, I would say, no point just watching it once. Like, if you're going to watch it, probably, I mean, I guess obviously if you listen to this, then you already know that, you've already had the plot explained, so you'll probably pick it up the first time. But yeah, personally, maybe I'm stupid, but The first time I watched it, I was kind of thinking, no. Anyway, your specific scene.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So the scene that I wanted to talk about specifically, and I thought I had to mention it because I thought it was incredible, was the Juarez scene.
Is that the totality of it? So, sorry, where they go down and they're driving around?
Yeah, when they're driving around, yeah.
Talk about it, Luke.
Well, Michael, I just thought it was insanely good. The thing is, like, the tension, the realness, it's amazing, it's superb. Them driving around the city and, like, all these people staring at them, and I don't know how they filmed it. Maybe they didn't actually film it in Juarez. Maybe they filmed it at a different border crossing or whatever. But yeah, it was certainly gripping, I'd say. That is the word that comes to mind. Also, when they the cinematography, actually, you were going to mention that.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, what you're talking about there can easily feed into one of our points.
Yeah, that's a scene where the cinematography really shines through. If I was just like to watch any scene in the movie back, it'd probably be that one.
Yes.
Yes. Also, at the end of the scene, when I like how they identify and kill the cartel members before the gunfight breaks out. They spot the guns in the cars and they're like, right, let's get out the cars and approach them. I think in a worse movie, a gunfight then would break out, and there'd be a red herring, and then, like Kate says, what about that car over there? And nobody listens to her. And it is actually that car. That's kind of the cliches that would happen in a shit movie. But in this movie, it's not shit. And they identify the cartel, they get out, they perform, or they execute, they do what they need to do, and then they get back in their car and drive off.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's a really good scene. It's even when it had the potential to get a bit dumb at the end there, it was really well done. So I just thought it was a really amazing scene.
Yeah, as always, I have a few branching points off of that. My first one is that I'm a really big fan, because this is you're talking about them kind of identifying the cars beforehand. I'm a really big fan of films or TV films, TV shows, where the kind of main characters who are kind of successful in fighting are not successful through luck, but actual skill. And obviously, in this case, you see the skill, because, for example, one of the things that always annoys me about the show Batman, the animated series, which I'm sure you're intimately familiar with, is that there are about a dozen times in the 60-odd episodes they have where Batman literally survives because someone's gun jams or something. He's caught. And the thing is, it's generally considered quite a good series as far as animated shows for children go. But yeah, and there are several, for example, in the Mission Impossible films, there are times when, like, every single time I watch the Mission Impossible films, there'll be a moment where someone is firing a machine gun at Tom Cruise and he's like running down an alley, and it's just pure luck that none of the machine gun bullets are hitting him.
Yes.
There's no reason. But in this film, obviously, you have, for example, the other scene is they've got the satellites, and the satellites are telling them, here are the people. You get a sense of the reason why they are succeeding is not because the cartel members are just, stormtrooper level bad shots, but because they have a tactical advantage, they have an intelligence advantage, they have a technological advantage. And the second thing is, I mentioned to you, of course, that I was going to talk about the action, I said, when we were discussing what we were going to talk about. So I was going to talk about the action, but I realized that really everything I had to say about the action was really about the cinematography. And it was that scene that I was thinking about, because I was going to say, this film had really good action, but I don't think it did, because ultimately, the film is just these people in a car. The action is that some guy goes to lift up an Uzi, and before he can even get it, halfway up to firing position, he's been shot dead. But obviously what makes that entertaining is not that it's, a bunch of people shooting at each other, there's bullets going everywhere. It's the ruthless efficiency of it. The fact that they identify the people before the people can, the attempts of the cartel members to be like, I'm going to shoot you back, are completely, and obviously there is a moment where one of them nearly gets the jump on, Kate? Her name's Kate, right?
Yes.
One nearly gets the jump on Kate, and, she kind of gets, well, I guess a bit lucky, but obviously, it makes sense. Very entertaining. Yeah, like I say, good use of cinematography, and do you want to say anything more generally about the cinematography?
Well, I think it's great.
Yes.
That's all I have to say, really. Yes. I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to cinematography, obviously, but perhaps you are more than me. But yeah, I thought it was really good, especially in the build-up to the Juarez scene, where they constantly take shots of the Mexico border, or the border between the US and Mexico. And yeah, it was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on cinematography. It's just one of those things where, when you see it, you know it. If I was the director of cinematography, then I'm not claiming I could have done as good a job because, when you see it and you realize it's good. And one of the things I was thinking to myself, when I was kind of thinking about the cinematography of this film, I was like, it's like if Dunkirk had a plot. Because, it's the same good cinematography of, a lot of good directors, but also it's put to really good use.
Has a purpose, yeah.
I think one of the things that I heard someone say, so there's a video essay on the internet about color grading, and you may not know what color grading is, but it's kind of self-explanatory. It's basically the idea of fiddling around with the levels, because, some films, they look sort of grey, other films look very bright and colourful, and they brought up this film as an example of a film that has, appropriate color grading, because it's very, if you wanted to make a more bombastic action film, you would make it a bit brighter. You would have the explosions be really, bright orange and the blood be bright red and things like that. This, is the use of the cinematography and kind of complementing the tone and the flow of the film worked really well. And the only other thing I want to say is there were a few interesting things. Like, for example, I liked the infrared scene.
I was going to mention that as well. That was great. Very good idea to do that.
Yes, I feel like night vision has been used in a variety of contexts to greater and lesser extents successfully. Of course, there's the scene in 28 Weeks Later where a woman gets beaten up with a night vision camera, and you see the camera's point of view, and it doesn't look very good. I've got to be honest with you.
That's great. Yeah. So that infrared scene again was good as well. Just scenes that build tension, scenes that are entertaining, exciting. Really well executed, and are also smart as well, particularly in what the characters actually do in those scenes. So, very good.
And do you have anything to say about any of the other characters?
Well, I was just going to talk about Benicio del Toro.
Yes, that's fine. I mean, I would imagine you would want to talk about that character.
So I think he does a great job. I'm just talking about the actor now.
Yeah.
He does a great job in this one. Much better than his shtick in Last Jedi.
Oh,
you remember that?
Yeah.
And he has a weird mouth thing that he does.
Yes.
Yes. So he's a lot better in this movie. And I think, he, I don't know about his career, Benicio del Toro, but I imagine after this movie, it got quite a boost.
Yeah, I feel like he's a bit of a kind of Danny Trejo guy. Do you know who Danny Trejo is?
No, I don't think he's Danny Trejo. He's not as imposing as Danny Trejo.
Yeah. All I was going to say is I imagine that he's probably done quite a few low-budget Mexican films. I just imagine. Yes. I mean, I assume he's probably the United States, but...
He's perfect for this role. He's so mysterious, and he really displays that well. And then, he's just a cold-blooded killer when he needs to be. Just a really good job from him.
Yes. One thing about him, obviously he's not written in a way where it would surprise you to learn that he has nefarious motives. The film doesn't treat his reveal of, kind of the fact that there's some other goings on as a twist necessarily, because you can sort of tell that he's not everything he seems, which I think is kind of good. I think it makes sense in this film. Obviously, sometimes you do a twist and you want it to be completely maybe you would want someone who is completely unseeming and, very nice to be a bad guy. But in this one, it makes sense. It's this weird looking guy.
They didn't go down the, it's part of actor twist.
Yes. I don't think any other characters really work. Josh Brolin, I guess, seemed a lot like Josh Brolin. Obviously he has done unique films. I don't want to deny him that. But as someone who's mostly seen him in Coen Brothers films, he kind of plays the same character in every Coen Brothers film, and he also plays the same character here. So, I guess...
He's also in Deadpool, actually.
Oh, is he? Oh, does he play... I know who he plays. He plays... Tell me who he plays. I feel like
Cable.
Cable, that's it, yeah. I knew it was... I wanted to say Colossus, but I realised it wasn't Colossus.
So he's carved out a niche. Well, not really a niche. He's carved out 2 roles for himself in Hollywood. Either the evil guy in a superhero movie, the supervillain, or a guy in a western / crime thriller.
Yes.
He's not the bad guy, but he's not the good guy either.
Yes. Anyway, so like I say, I mean, obviously this film does have quite a few Well, actually, he doesn't have that many characters, to be honest, when you think about it. The only other character is Daniel Kaluuya, and he's not that interesting.
Parky Pataweo.
Yeah, even though, like, obviously, I guess I should say, like, he's interesting because the first film he ever did in this channel was Get Out, but we haven't even mentioned the fact that he's in that film.
Well, you made a reference to it earlier.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
I did. And I've got it written down right in front of me in my notes, and I still forgot it. So I guess,
wow, you wrote down that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wrote, it was the first thing I wrote down.
Yeah, I just wonder, what's his whole deal with Kate?
Yeah, I know.
Is he gay? I was wondering that.
Yeah, I guess they didn't establish his relationship that much. He's no Jeremy Renner, that's for sure.
What's that a reference to?
Arrival.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's what I was
thinking.
Anyway,
Arrival now.
Okay. So I guess now we're going to talk about kind of the actual reality that this film is depicting. Yes. Drug wars, as it were.
The drug wars, yes. So this film, as you mentioned previously, Michael, presents a pretty brutal picture of the drug war on the US-Mexican border. And in particular, the city of Juarez presents a very dangerous picture of that city. And while I was looking through the Wikipedia page, as I do, I came across this little tidbit. Before the film's release, Juarez mayor Enrique Serrano Escobar, what's a name? What a Spanish name. Essay, that's his initials. Urged citizens to boycott it, believing the film presented a false and negative image of the city. He said the violence depicted in the film was accurate until about 2010, and the city had made progress in restoring peace.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should say it did seem a bit kind of unlikely to me that they drive past these mutilated bodies, and it's like clearly visible. And I was thinking to myself,
that's a bit over the top.
Yeah, it did seem a bit over the top.
Yes. According to director Denis Villeneuve, the film was conceived at the height of the violence in Juarez in 2010. I think it's...
Yeah, they do never say when the film's set. It could be that the film is set in 2010.
Yes. So Rotello, who's this guy, Rotello?
Oh, bloody hell.
According to Sebastian Rotello, an American foreign correspondent and investigative journalist, Rotello asserts that progress has been made in Mexico and expresses qualms over the depiction of the film's Black Ops campaign relative to his experience that most US operations resulted in the arrest and prosecution of drug lords. So, yeah, he's saying like that's what Benicio del Toro did was unrealistic, which I think is fair anyway. Like nobody's claiming that happens on the regular. But yeah, I just think there's this line that one of the guys says to, I think it's Kate maybe, after they get out of Juarez with the Diaz guy. He says, this won't even make the front page in El Paso.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. I mean, I remember that line.
And it's kind of like, okay, like, so it's just this...
I like that though, like millions of Americans at a border crossing and people are just getting shot next to them. Well, not millions of us. But yeah, like Americans, like presumably there were some Americans there who literally watched a shooting happen. Yeah,
This movie presents the violence as a much bigger problem than it actually is on the Mexican border.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say.
And just one, well, I kind of wanted to talk about sort of the idea of cartel proxy wars, because I find the subject interesting. You see, Luke, I guess you know the famous game Civilization.
Yes, I played it, yeah.
One of the things you can do in Civilization, at least in Civilization 4, I think this went away with Civilization 5, which is one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of Civilization 5, is it was very easy to make your own scenarios, so kind of make your own maps and things like that. And one of the things I worked on, just because I thought it would be fun, is a scenario where Mexico basically, the drug war got so bad that cartels were literally forming their own armies and taking over cities. And I made that. And because I made it, I kind of researched a little bit about the cartels. This information is about, say, I probably worked on it on the first year of uni, I want to say. So it's about 2014, Circa, that's when the date is. But basically, there are countries who, if you kind of look up, I mean, this was the case of Lisan, if you look up Mexican drug war, then you have kind of groups of cartels. There's the Los Zetas, there's the Zanorias, things like that. And underneath them it has financed by and supported by. And Colombia is, I think I'm right in saying Colombia is actually supporting one of the cartels. But also, I think I'm right in saying Lebanon is also supporting a cartel. Like Lebanon is listed as and again, obviously, and I think Iran as well, which I guess makes sense. So there are countries who are actively kind of backing cartels, or at least there were, I guess, probably during maybe a different point in the drug war. But one of the things I want to talk about is this idea of backing a central figure to take it over to make it less violent. Because, number one, I actually saw a video called, it was like a correspondent looks at how Sicario handles the drug war. And I actually watched it this morning, I guess because, people like to get the clicks by talking about Sicario when there's a new Sicario film coming out, even though that strategy never works for us. But yeah, so it was talking about it, and it was basically saying that, for one thing, yes, the taking out of drug lords, the taking out of kingpins does result in more violence. And cartels are really violent, Luke. Do you have any idea how... There's a... See, I haven't watched this video. Like, I hang out in the kind of areas where you get the sort of dark web, messed up videos being posted, like 4chan. People post these things like, oh, look at this, you disgusting people. And I don't like gore. But one of the things that I remember seeing was, it was like a cartel, and it was like, the cartel cut this guy's face off and he's still alive. And I was like, okay, I don't believe that's actually true. I clicked on it, and a second later, I pressed the X to get off it, because it was the most horrible video I've ever seen in my life. But the point is, Luke, that apparently, and I looked in the comments just to be like, okay, like, yeah, I can't watch this video. I look in the comments, people are like, listen to his screaming. The point is, Luke, that, yes, the cartel will literally cut your face off, and leave you still alive, and that's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the reasons that's happened, and also, I mean, again, for example, a lot of this comes from just me existing on the internet. I've seen things like, for example, women will literally be burned alive because they are in a relationship with the wrong cartel member and things like that. People, obviously, gang members will go after your relatives, as we saw in the film, and, you do get, like, actual videos of people burning women alive for these things. And that stuff has apparently increased quite significantly as the central drug pins disappear, because the more... this is why anarcho-capitalism is wrong, by the way, because the less of a central authority there is, the more arbitrary and random and horrific the violence becomes.
Okay, so what's your point what's your bigger point, Michael?
Okay, here's my final point. So, I guess some people might be tempted to say, because you said, when I kind of brought up my Afghanistan comparison, you said, well, the difference is that these people think they're helping, or these people are actually trying to help, is what I think you said.
And I think they would actually help.
Yeah, and I agree. The weird thing is, I don't think, because I was kind of surprised when you said that, because I agree with you, but I don't think this film is actually trying to be that balanced.
What do you mean? What side do you think they're...
I think, to me, this film, I thought, was pretty much saying, look at how evil these CIA... And maybe, again, this is a subjective thing, and this was just my interpretation of the film, but I thought the film was saying, look at how evil these CIA people are working with this Benicio del Toro guy. They're horrible, and we hate them.
I wouldn't say that. I think what they're saying is that the CIA or the DEA, they're not innocent either.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You can't be innocent. So that's the thing. Like, these guys aren't the good guys, but you can't be the good guys. So I don't think they're saying let's hate them. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, that was just, I guess it's quite hard to second guess the motivation. I got the impression, like, I didn't think this film was I think this film could have made more of a point of the moral ambiguity. The final thing I do want to say, because I thought it was interesting, something I was thinking about was, there is a real world comparison to this, which is that a lot of people, I think, even if the film isn't saying that Benicio del Toro and Matt Brolin? Josh Brolin, yeah, are unequivocally bad. The character's name is Matt, isn't it? Are unequivocally bad. I think a lot of people watching this film will probably kind of be a bit moralistic, a lot like... Because the main character of the film is very moralistic about it. She refuses to sign the thing that says it will be legal and all that stuff. And I think a lot of people watching this would identify with her. The funny thing is that pretty much everyone now agrees that invading Iraq was a bad idea.
Yes.
And I think there's an interesting comparison there because, of course, the argument was that Saddam Hussein was a dictator, but, at the end of the day, he killed the occasional, every now and then someone would oppose him, they would disappear, which is, generally what happens with dictators. Whereas, of course, in the aftermath of Saddam Hussein's being toppled, hundreds of thousands of people died. immeasurably more people died because Saddam Hussein was toppled and there was so much chaos after that than would have died over these last 10 years or whatever, or 15 years actually, if he would have been left in power. And pretty much everyone on the planet, well, not everyone on the planet, there are still neoconservatives, but a lot of people would agree that in that case, propping up one coherent force that is violent and authoritative and ruthless, but not as violent as, or not as brutal as just a complete free-for-all, has validity to it. So I kind of think that's an interesting kind of geopolitical comparison to what they're doing with the cartels, where most people would probably agree that it's the right thing to do.
Okay, yeah.
And that led me to my final question, which I wanted to ask you, Luke, before you can talk about anything you want to talk about, and then we can wrap up. What do you think about Bashar Assad, Luke? Do you think, because I think this is relevant, okay, do you think that at this point it would be better, I'm trying to ask this in not a leading way, but do you think at this point it would be better for him to retain control because, well, what do you think, Luke?
Well, so obviously it's, from the British and American point of view, it's better if he doesn't maintain control, and they would prefer chaos to him being in charge.
Exactly.
So obviously, but from somebody who is a guy who doesn't like to see people die unnecessarily, then I would say Bashar Assad being in charge is the right thing at the moment for Syria. And unfortunately that is the case, but I'm at heart a pragmatist.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean that's exactly what I would say. I thought you would say that. I just thought so. That's another example again of it's entirely possible that wanting, like I say, a guy, obviously Bashar al-Assad is not the best guy in the world. He's done bad things, but hundreds of thousands of people are dying. There's a massive humanitarian crisis, and none of it would be happening if he was just allowed to rule, and then we could work on a less violent means of democratizing the country. But anyway, that's everything I have to say. So say whatever you want, and then by all means wrap up.
No, I'm ready to wrap up right now. I think we're all done. So, Sicario. I'm just going to give my conclusion of it. The plot is not so realistic, but I think overall the way it was executed was, which, I give props to them for that. It wasn't just cliches. It was 2 hours of intense, gripping, entertaining drama, which I appreciated. The cinematography was incredible, as previously mentioned. It's a really solid film. And obviously the character of Kate being introduced to it, I thought was a good idea, even if her gender may be a bit problematic. But yeah, like I say, it's a really solid movie, well worth anyone's time if they've got 2 hours to watch it. And as you said as well, Michael, I think it does have high rewatchability, particularly that Juarez scene. So overall, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Yes, I always let you go first, and it means that I actually often have very little to add. Again, same thing. Very high rewatchability, and probably, definitely very well shot, and very intense, very entertaining, and possibly a good setup to a film that might hopefully also be quite good.
Where are you going to put it?
I'm going to put it. I think I'm quite happy putting it below Manchester by the Sea and above Thor Ragnarok.
Wow.
Because, to be honest, I'm quite happy putting that. I'm actually surprised that I've got nothing between Manchester by the Sea and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's a fairly good place for it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we go, Michael, you mentioned hopefully it sets up a good sequel. Well, I want to just add a little segment onto our podcast here. And the segment's going to be predicting the sequel. So obviously we're doing this Sicario, this movie, because of Sicario, the Day of the Soldado. I believe that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Day of the Soldado, yes. That's coming out soon, on June the 29th. And I think it'd be interesting to have a look at the sequel. So in doing so, I went to the premise, and shall I just read the premise?
Yes.
I think it's quite interesting. After discovering that Mexican drug cartels are smuggling terrorists across the United States border, the CIA sent Matt Graver and former undercover operative Alejandro Gillick to deal with the problem. And then it gets into the details, but that's basically the premise. And I just laugh at the fact that the Mexican drug cartels are smuggling terrorists across the United States border.
To be honest, that sounds like the worst. You know what that reminds me of, okay? So, do you know Chapo Trap House?
Sorry, what?
Okay, so there is a podcast called Chapo Trap House, which is a leftist podcast, kind of Bernie Bros, I guess.
Okay.
But one of the things
Don't
they
use
do,
that phrase, by the way.
one of the things they do, which is quite entertaining, is they look at a lot of conservative fiction. So a lot of conservatives write kind of fiction about, the American war hero who finds out that social justice warriors are coming to steal free speech, assassinate the president. But one of the things they do is they literally throw all of their they create this antagonist that is this bizarre amalgam of all the things they hate. So it'll be like Mexican feminist terrorists and Black Lives Matter advocates try to force Obama to implement... No, I guess it wouldn't be Obama, because Obama was trying to force Donald Trump to implement socialism until the reincarnation of Ronald Reagan must stop them in a final confrontation. So that's what it is. And it's the dumbest thing, because it's literally like...
Yeah. So
they have this idea that every single person that they personally dislike is all allied into one group.
Yes. So basically, I thought while I was watching this movie, like obviously the Juarez mayor wasn't happy about the way it depicted Juarez and the situation on the border. I thought, you know what, Trump supporters would, I don't think love this movie. I'd say they would believe this movie. They'd be like, this is exactly what's happening. This is why we need a war.
Yeah.
And Trump would tell his people to watch Sicario. It just shows what's going on over there. That's why we need a wall. You just watch this movie. I love Emily Blunt. She did such a great job. But no, we need the wall and all that stuff. But then you watch the premise for the sequel. Mexican drug cartels are smuggling terrorists across the United States border. It's like
Trump fan fiction.
Yeah, it's like crazy right-wing conspiracy theories. That's exactly what these Republicans would say when Obama was president. They didn't do it now. It was when ISIS was coming into the fray in the Middle East, and they would say, ISIS are coming across the border. That's why we need a wall. And it's just they're taking this ridiculously right-wing conspiracy theory
and making it into a film.
Making it into a film. It's like, if Trump supporters loved the first Sicario, or not loved it, thought, yes, this is the movie America needs to see. My God, they're going to absolutely be fucking giving out this movie. They're going to be buying this movie and giving it out for free.
Yes.
It's going to be the central premise of why Donald Trump needs to get re-elected in 2020.
That's
great. The thing is, and they'll say it's a Hollywood movie. Look, it legitimizes this idea. Hollywood's very liberal. Now even they're saying that terrorists, could come across the border. We need that wall.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a reveal that they're not actually doing it. I don't know. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that... I mean, the thing is, Hollywood has a habit of making completely ridiculous tone-deaf decisions.
Yes.
Tone-deaf decisions. And so you almost wouldn't be surprised if they are literally saying, oh yeah, what if we made what if we made a film about terrorists? People are afraid of terrorists. What if you had lots of explosions in it and stuff like that? But I almost feel like they must realize... Oh, sorry, I'm choking on my words for a minute. Let me have some water. They must realize that they're giving ammo to people who would literally say Hollywood is run by evil Jews. But yeah, you're right. That sounds like it could be an interesting film to try and be good.
Yes, Emily Blunt also isn't in this movie, which is interesting. Yeah. It's just maybe Josh Brolin.
Here's my theory. The guy who originally, you obviously said maybe someone just wrote a cool drug cartel film, and then someone else came in and was like, what if we made this woman be part of the film who has this thing? Maybe this is just maybe the guy who wrote the original just, hey, what if it was a cool drug film? It's come back and no, now let's make my version. Yeah, maybe it's going to be crap. Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be crap now.
It does sound like it's going to be crap. I mean, they've got the rest of the movie is your typical stuff that you'd expect in Sicario, the rest of the premise. But the first bit, smuggling terrorists across the United States border, that does not happen. It hasn't happened. So it's just wow. Obviously Mexican drug cartels obviously have smuggled drugs across the border. That's pretty realistic. But smuggling terrorists, that's a whole another level of smuggling.
Yes. Anyway, I think that's going to be interesting. But until we review that film in a year's time, when Sicario 3 comes out, the rise of the SJW.
Yeah, what are they going to smuggle across the border next?
Probably gun control and probably diversity in Star Wars films.
Oh.
Drug cartels. Hey, we've got some black female protagonists here. Oh, some BFP, love it. Anyway, but until then, goodbye, and you usually do the proper goodbye.
I
You usually
do,
do formal goodbye.
Sorry, yeah. So thank you for joining us. We've been selecting and reflecting on Sicario, of course, because of its release, the release of its sequel, Sicario: Day of the Soldado, and maybe, judging by the premise, it won't be as good as the first one, but we'll see.
Right.
I've been Luke. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And thank you for listening, and see you next week when we will be doing Ant-Man? And Cut.
Yes, we are doing Ant-Man.
Alright, okay.
Alright,
So,
good
bye.
stuff. Bye.